There's a lot of information being thrown at you while you're playing Football Manager, but I've picked out 6 things that you will be able to ignore completely while you play the game. And we start with something that I on stream yesterday, I had it brought up a bunch, that this was something that was supposed to be relevant to my decision-making process, and it's just not, and it's transfer value. Now, if you've ever played Football Manager, you know when you click on a player, you have that player's transfer value, and the Zealand skin, it's in the top right here, but there's going to be a transfer value with some sort of monetary denomination somewhere on the screen. Now, this transfer value does not matter at all. Now, back in Football Manager 20, it was actually just a singular value, but here in Football Manager 22, what you have is a range. And going forward, what I'm assuming is you will continue to have a range of different values. That's because the single value was so inaccurate and misleading that it would frustrate players so much they wanted to make it a range, because this wonderful ray of sunshine that is a range of transfer value, so that people would get less mad at it, but it still does not matter. It is a rough reflection of how the game feels about that player's ability. What it does not reflect is that player's actual ability at all. Then subsequently, what that player's actual ability is worth. A huge impact on this is the quality of the league. So I am in Austria, right? I'm in Austria. I'm in the Admiral Bundesliga with Floridsdorfer, if you haven't been watching the streams. And we have become the perennial champ of the league. We've won 3 of the last 4 years. We've essentially supplanted Salzburg, even though they look like they're going to give it the old college try this year. But the issue is that this Admiral Bundesliga is 11th. It's 11th in Europe, and so the values of players are still not particularly high, except for some reason, and I have no idea what affects this, a player we just signed for 45 million named Max Hervé, who has come in and been valued at 113 to 133 million. Now, I don't know exactly why this is, but clearly he's an 18-year-old we spent 45 million on, and he's under 3 years of contract, and so that's going to add to the value as well. Those are factors that influence it, but I'm honestly shocked to see that kind of valuation, because as you can see on the rest of a team that made the Champions League knockouts last year, we have the lowest average and median value of any of the teams that would have made the Champions League knockouts by a long shot, checking in somewhere between like 15 to 25 million, with the exception of quite literally 3 players, 2 of which we just bought this offseason for over $40 million. Everybody else is just kind of chilling. And even though they were chilling, we sold a center back for $100 million. This is a good thing about Football Manager, because we sold another center back, Ulrich Torbjornsson, for $60 million. And this good thing is that the teams will sometimes see the value in players that the game does not. What I mean by that is the team will look at somebody like Fernando Novais, who's in incredible form and makes the Champions League knockouts, and say, you know what, we will pay $100 million for that guy. Or they'll see Torbjornsson and say, we will pay $60 million for that guy. You are not hamstrung by the value in terms of getting value out of your players. Now, sometimes you will not be able to get great value for your players because you're in a bad league and your players aren't playing against top competition. Even if you know that they are good, you're just going to have to take a little bit of a cut in terms of the payment. That's just the way that it works. But I can assure you it has nothing to do with the value. And there is nothing in this transfer value column that guarantees you should get that amount of money, or that necessarily makes getting that amount of money even a fair deal. If a guy is going to run out his contract in a year, he's valued at $10 million, you don't like him, you don't think he's very good, he's occupying a lot of your wage budget, you get a $5 million offer, there's absolutely no reason that's not a fantastic deal to take. Completely ignore transfer value. You can also completely ignore stars. Now, I've made a whole video on this. I'll link it up there about why stars are just not what you think they are in Football Manager, especially if you're newer to the game. You come in and you're begging for an overall rating, some sort of overall rating that can help you make an educated decision about players. But if you play FIFA, and you have played FIFA for a time, then you know you don't just look at the overall. You look, yeah, how tall are they? How fast are they? Can they dribble, right? These sorts of things. And I'm here to tell you that that star rating is not the overall rating you hope for. And for a great example, we will go to Max Hervé, and I want you to look at his stars, and then I want you to look at his value. Now, if you know anything about stars, you know that they are relative to the quality of your team, right? So a 5 5-star player at some Irish league team would probably be a 1-star player on Barcelona, right? It is relative to how good the players around them are. This is obvious. You can't have a full team of 5-star players, but this isn't a video about stars. What this is about is that you should ignore them, because there are a lot of 2.5-star strikers in my scouting reports, and there's only one striker I wanted to spend $46 million on, and that was Max Hervé. And here's why: because there are a couple of things that will influence the star rating that aren't just the attributes. One, footedness. Max Hervé is excruciatingly a one-footed player. Now, either-footed players are starred up a lot higher. We have one on our team, Sjoerd van der Plas. He is extremely dual-footed. He is ambidextrous to a T. He is also not great. His tackling is great, and quite literally everything else he does, not great, but he's only a half-star away from Max Hervé. There is another factor that influences star rating: versatility. Hervé has no versatility at all. There's nothing else on that player position map other than center forward for Max Hervé. And the last thing that influences star rating is form. And since he's just started playing for us, that has not had the opportunity to influence his star rating and make it go up. He dropped a cool 6.96 with Saint Etienne last season, which isn't quite enough to elevate your star rating too much, but the star rating can actually fluctuate rather significantly by a whole star based on just how the player is performing at the time, in the moment. And here's how I want you to make your decisions. I want you to grab the player that is currently starting in that position. Ignore the star ratings, and you'll be able to eyeball this because Football Manager does include this wonderful little filter. So if I want him to play as an advanced forward, you click that down here, and you can immediately internalize the attributes they have in the important spots. And you go up to compare, and you go down to the different players you'll be comparing them against, and you can see immediately, just from the whatever this thing is called, the gram with some Latin beginning, right? You can see that he is better physically, technically, aerially, and is actually generally a tremendous signing as a forward, 3 years younger, with the opportunity to improve. And that's where I should draw a distinction. Potential ability is less reliable than in any previous Football Manager I have ever played. In FM22, I imagine it will trend that way. This means 5-star guys cannot be 5-star guys more often. People that aren't 5-star guys can improve more often, which is why I say generally, if a player is really young and really good, trust that there is room to get better. But you shouldn't ignore potential star rating. Current ability star rating, you should. Because despite all the stars, and despite the fact that Gavin Marquez was a full 4-star player and Hervé was a 2.5, we spent $46 million on him, and we have a firm belief that he's going to be fantastic, and clearly the overall game engine thinks so with his transfer value. But again, we're ignoring that. The third one to ignore is your staff improvement recommendations. This just happens non-stop during your coaching meetings. I mean, here's me dealing with it on stream, having an objectively wonderful time clicking through it in about 3 seconds, because even though we have a staff that we're very happy with, I'm obsessed with putting together the right staff. And they do have a nice little filter when you click on pick attributes and then you sort through all those different things. You can highlight exactly what you need from a staff member. And once you get the best person you can sign, with that, you can just go ahead and turn off staff improvement recommendations, because they'll continue to suggest people that have high reputation at a certain staff position, but you are already okay with the people that you have signed. I will be turning them off on stream today. Something you should not ignore, however, is mystery football. That's right. It's this time of the month. We have been sponsored by Mystery Football for a long time. They are the official mystery shirt sponsor of this channel. The link is down in the description if you want to get a discount on your authentic mystery shirts from everywhere. I got this shirt from it. A lot of the shirts in my collection are from it, and it is our August spot. So it's time for me to hold this the right way up, because we have got ourselves another mystery shirt. Comes in a nice little box right there, stamped Mystery Football. Even have their Instagram on it. Oh goodness. That's the easiest time I've ever had opening the box. What did we get this month from Mystery Football to add to the collection? Please don't be Porto. Yo, it's Bruges! Belgium. All right. I think I have one Belgium shirt before, but this is cool. It's got the, it's not a collar, but it's like, there's no button. Look at that. That is a really cool kit, honestly. I didn't know Bruges had this, like, weird line thing going on. Okay, time to get changed. How do I look? I look fitted? Nice. If you want to get your own mystery shirt, of course, check out the link down in the description. You can get a discount, and they're a great bunch of people, and we've been working with them forever. You even get this card that accidentally fell out when I opened it that tells you, just in case you don't know who the team is, because I did get a third-tier US team one time and had no idea. It's Forward Madison, by the way. Sick kit. But the fourth thing that you can ignore on Football Manager, mad players on long contracts. I mean, just watch me do it, okay? We've got 4 guys that want to leave. They're under contract for more than 2 years, and I just let them rot. It's not let them rot. You can still play them. You can still interact with them. Just be wary of the fact they're not going to react as well to you until they get over themselves. But if a player is mad at you, and they are mad at you for something other than a broken promise, and they're under a long contract, they will eventually become not mad at you, and that's it. My general rule of thumb is if you have young players or other types of players, they keep getting mad at you for things like teams offering or whatever, you got to keep them under long contracts. When they're not mad at you, re-extend that contract out to 5 years, and then you can just wait. They will eventually come back to you. All you have to do is not make a promise. If you make a promise, this rule changes and you really have to pay attention to it. But if a player is under contract for more than 2 years and they get mad at you and you don't make a promise so that you can't break a promise, you're good. They will eventually become not mad at you. You can ignore them. It feels awkward. We have a good club atmosphere. Our leadership support is excellent. And these guys will slowly tick away. You can keep track of that on the stream. This is the save we play on stream live. And even if you can't make it, there are edited versions like episodes of this save that go up on the Zealand Live channel, which is linked down in the description as well. So you can see me back up my word that these guys will eventually become okay with being here. Stefano D'Este is only under contract for 2 years, so we're kind of rolling the dice. It's right on the line, my rule of thumb. But they should all be okay. And then once they're okay, I extend their contract, and we're good. The fifth thing you should ignore is this might be the one that strikes you as the weirdest thing that you should ignore: club balance. I'm talking about this right here, your overall balance. Yes, why, thank you. I am very rich. Absolutely. Hello. I'll tell you what, it doesn't matter, because you know what? The game's glitched out and I'm only allowed to have 60% transfer revenue retention, so we only have 83 million in the transfer budget. But there's a couple of reasons this doesn't matter. One, your transfer revenue retention will determine what goes into your transfer budget. Now, obviously, the higher your overall budget is, the healthier your transfer budget's going to be, but there is not a direct correlation. And the reason is every league is going to have a different amount of expenditure. You're going to be spending a different amount on player salaries. You're going to be spending a different amount on coach salaries. You're going to be spending a different amount on things like stadium maintenance. You're going to be spending a different amount on things like affiliates and travel and all this different stuff that goes into the game and is actually kept track of in a very particular way in things like, you know, your expenditure page that most of us just ignore. A good way to keep track of your overall expenditure compared to your income is going to the projection screen, and you can see that a lot of my income is one-time income, right? Because I only have a stadium of 28,000 people. I don't have a large fan base outside of Vienna, and I am not guaranteed to be making it into the Champions League group stage, let alone the Champions League knockout stage, because of the position of my league. So we are projected to continuously lose money because we are overspending when it comes to wage budget based off of our baseline income. The things I do want you to take into account are your projection, your income streams, your expenditure streams, and your financial status. There is rich, secure, okay, insecure. Maybe there's something below that. If there is, I haven't hit it, and if you hit it, you should run. Your financial status is something you should pay attention to, because in a league like the Premier League, you can be hundreds of millions of dollars in debt and still be financially okay. Just ask Kevin. Somebody said, how's Kev's financial situation looking? I don't know. What are your finances?
It's looking fine. We have a total debt of 787 million pounds. It's fine.
And that network save I'm playing with him, he is like $700 million in debt and still financially okay somehow, because it's the Premier League and you just get money poured on top of you. Now, if you are in the Irish League and you are $700 million in debt, I'm pretty sure not even the Irish government can bail you out. So the club balance is something you can actually ignore. Your financial status, the status of your income, your passive income, things like ticket sales, merchandise sales, that's what I call passive income, and your active income, which are things like, I made $17 million from getting in the Champions League group stage, and I sold Fernando Novais for $100 million. Well, those are things you can keep track of, and how much money you are spending, you can keep track of. You can balance those two, or you can just look at the projections, which can get wonky because they'll assume you don't make a group stage. They assume you're just not going to sell any players at any time. You know, they assume things. All of that allows you to assess your overall financial health, where your balance is just a pretty number that will either hype you up too much or scare you too much. But that isn't my favorite one I'm going to talk about. My favorite one I'm going to talk about, and one of my favorite things I've discovered throughout experiments, is that something you should ignore in Football Manager is height. Get it all out now. I know. Somebody give me a Lisandro Martinez joke, please. Now that we've gotten that out of our system, height doesn't matter in Football Manager. There are 3 things that do matter in Football Manager. If you are not a goalkeeper, there's one thing: jumping reach. That's it. We've done tests. We've done tests with the shortest possible player against the tallest possible player, and they both have 20 jumping reach, and they get to the ball at the same freaking time. There is nothing in Football Manager that accounts for, I have to jump, so it's going to take me longer to get there. It looks like 2 players of equal height playing against each other, and jumping reach is the only thing that matters. If you have a center back that is 5'2" with 20 jumping reach, they will be plenty effective. You can ignore height. But if you don't feel like looking at jumping reach, obviously height is a guide for how much jumping reach that player is going to have. So if you're playing like, ooh, I'm playing without attributes, look at me, like you're one of those guys, then yeah, height is obviously going to help you determine jumping reach, but it is not the end all be all. You can have 2 guys that are 5'10", one has 7 jumping reach and one has 15 jumping reach. They are very much not the same. Now for goalkeepers, you have to factor in the jumping reach and the aerial reach and the command of area, right? This is their ability to get out there and do that, right? And jump up and grab. But you also don't have to factor in the height of the goalkeeper. It is how high can they reach, how high can they jump, and where are they going to stick those arms. Now there are other factors that determine how good a player is in the air. Bravery is definitely one of them, balance and strength, and your normal physical attributes that allow a player to get there. Of course, heading is important for non-goalkeepers. Those are all factors, but what is most important is height does not matter at all. Ignore it. Except for when you want to joke about how you have a 6'7" center back from Serbia and that all he can do is violence, Patrick. Is that all that he knows? It's all that he knows. All that he knows is violence. I can't even meme anymore. That's disappointing. If you want to cheer me up, subscribe to the channel. Be greatly appreciated. You'll get a free cookie. At some point in your life, probably not from me. If you're excited for the World Cup coming up, we simulated it 100 times. Those are the results. Enjoy. Seriously, it's a cool video. End scene.